Welcome back everybody to part 2 of our failed sequel rant / scripted videos. I just want to start off by thanking everybody who's been supporting the channel. We just hit 500 subscribers overnight, and I'm really enjoying this content, and I hope you guys are enjoying what I'm putting out. For all those people who don't enjoy it, well, it's not your cup of tea, and I understand. Today we'll be covering Destiny 2's PvP and how it pales in comparison to Destiny 1's PvP. By no means is it a terrible player versus player system, but it's not what Destiny used to be. Destiny was just as well known for its loot as it was for its fast-paced PvP, with a wide variety of game modes for every type of player. Of course, when I say fast-paced, it's just subjective to the Destiny community who enjoyed the PvP. Alongside its pace, D1's PvP shipped with several base game modes and 11 maps, 3 of which were large maps that had vehicles enabled. Destiny 2, on the other hand, was shipped with only 8 maps, and later added on 3 more as the events started to open up. Alongside the 5 main game modes, 3 of which were casual and 2 of which are competitive. If we look at the choice in Crucible game modes in Destiny, a player would almost be overwhelmed with possibilities and choices depending on their mood, whereas in Destiny 2 we're forced to choose casual, which randomizes 3 game modes in one playlist, and competitive, which randomizes 2 game modes in the other available playlist. This change now takes away the chance for players to select their preferred game mode to play, instead puts them in a mosh pit of anguish whenever their least favorite game mode comes up. In my case, Supremacy. This decision to remove choice from PvP, coupled with reduced super regen time and 4-man fire teams, has created a Crucible experience so stale that no one even plays it anymore. On launch weekend, it could take me 3 to 4 minutes to find a game in Crucible, whereas in Destiny 1, up until D2's launch, you'd only have a couple minutes or so, and that's at its worst, near the end of Destiny 1's lifespan. Destiny, at the end of Year 3, had several game modes and different versions of those game modes, the most prominent of those game modes being Control, Clash, Elimination, Rumble, and for my personal enjoyment, the 2v2 and 3v3 playlists. This wide variety of selection allowed me to choose if I was in the mood to play against 5 other individuals for some free-for-all action, or just get my fire team of 6 for some good old Control. These moments in Crucible gave us our fondest memories in Destiny, along with some rare occasions and raids, but this is where most of the player base would find itself post-game, grinding out Trials of Osiris. Yes, I said Trials of Osiris. The man Osiris, who had a DLC all about him, but he only showed up for 3 cutscenes and 1 mission. Or if you were grinding out Iron Banner, which varied in game modes, or just played casual hoping to get some sweet loot. Destiny's PvP was nowhere near perfect, but it kept a good portion of the population playing the game. It was a great means of acquiring some of the best loot and have some of the best endgame fun. Near the end of Destiny 1, the game began to die, because we got a taste of Destiny 2 PvP in the beta. At first I loved it. Shorter games, smaller maps, quicker action. And I say quicker in quotations, because that didn't last long. It quickly became the slowest and dullest PvP game I have ever played. Games wouldn't end by score, they would end by running out of time. People would get 1 super late game, maybe a second if one of their teammates dropped a lot of orbs. I felt like I was playing COD, just with a different UI and HUD. I blame this on 2 key elements, the game modes and the playlists. Originally, Control, Clash, and Supremacy all worked well as 6v6 game modes, but they were reduced to 4v4 because Bungo believes that we wanted that, when we all know it's because they wanted to push their eSports agenda. But I digress. This change to 4v4 has caused players like me, who enjoyed the faster action of D1 due to more people in the game, to leave Destiny 2's PvP. The 4v4 works for competitive because the game modes are Survival, my personal favorite, and Countdown. These 2 seem optimized for 4v4 PvP, whereas the casual game modes seem like they are just missing players in the game. I can confidently say that if Trials were still 3v3 elimination and maybe another twist of a game mode, that would have been more than happy to play it every week and fight for a flawless card. Sadly, it wasn't like that. It turned out to just be a more competitive mode. Trials quickly became a team shooting mode, where the first team to eliminate the other team with their Midas or Uriels would win the game. Gone were the days of 1v3 clutch rounds with the No Land Beyond. Gone were the days of dragging out a round for the flag to spawn, so you could drop a super on there and eliminate the opposing team in one fell swoop for the clutch. Destiny's most competitive event has now become a regular competitive mode for enjoyment and casuals. This brings me to one of my favorite events from Destiny, the Iron Banner. Whenever this event came in for Destiny 1, I would be so happy. Lord Saladin and Lady Aphrodite waiting in the tower and Fellwinter's Peak, handing me bounties to complete so I could get some sweet loot. Back then, everybody wanted Iron Banner loot, from the armor to the weapons. Everything looked great and played great, from the Clever Dragon to the Nurwin's Mercy, all the way to Year 1 Fellwinter's Lie. The guns were unforgettable, but now we have some very forgettable weapons that all drop with the same roll. I'm going to save the weapon rolls rant for another week, but it's sad to see how the most coveted mode, for myself, has now become a laughingstock, with only the armor being anything to write home about, and even then, some of the perks are just trash. Crimson Days just ended as well. I have to say, it wasn't all that amusing. I played 2 matches of Crimson Doubles and was immediately bored. After a couple months from being away, I came back to Destiny 2 and found myself easily playing Crimson Doubles. There wasn't a challenge to the mode like there had been in the past. For those of you who don't know, Crimson Doubles used to be a 2v2 elimination game mode, where the last teammate left standing would get max armor, mobility, and recovery. This would allow the player to go up against evenly with the 2 opposing players. This is quite different from Destiny 2's Crimson Doubles, where I believe it was the first team to reach 10 kills would win the round, and the first team to 3 or 4 rounds would win the game. It was essentially a 2v2 survival. This event could have been the perfect opportunity to usher in elimination. Now we get a little nitpicky with certain problems in the Crucible. The biggest problem within this nitpicky list, for me, is no dedicated servers. I've already ranted about this in the past, but it's something I feel like I need to address in a PvP specific video. Destiny has never run on dedicated servers, which has always made me hate playing Crucible. The lag sometimes was so atrocious that people would be teleporting or just plain invisible. This doesn't help the fact that Bungie has decided that you no longer need to know the other player's connection to the game. Unlike Battlefield 1 or Destiny, Destiny 2 hides other players' connections from you. There's no clear motive behind this, but I can say that I like to know my connection as well as other players' connections to the game, so I can know why someone is lagging or if I'm lagging. This is extremely frustrating in trials, where you can have someone bouncing around or totally invisible all because their connection is worse. Dedicated servers would help with these issues, if they were at least used for trials, Iron Banner, and the competitive playlist. With the Rise of Iron, we got the intro to private matches. This finally gave us the option to do custom matches with our friends and for us to kill each other in whatever game modes we saw fit. The first thing I did was join a friend of mine who had gotten a 6v6 elimination match going. This was possibly the greatest game I've ever played. It was total chaos, but unfortunately, in Destiny 2's launch, we got no such thing. Now, some of you diehard Bungo and Destiny fans might be going on about this sad excuse of a roadmap that they released, saying that private matches are coming in spring 2018. Well, I say too little too late. Bungie, you waited too damn long for any of these additions. They should have already been in the base game. Not many people will remember this, but Bungie held a small event before the release of Rise of Iron with the assistance of MLG. Their hopes were to use the community's most prominent players to showcase their newest game modes and the capabilities of Destiny's multiplayer as a future eSports game. This has led to a major dip in quality and engagement in Destiny 2's PvP. To those of you who argue against me, I would like to point out the fact that the subclasses are so basic, the weapons have no random rolls, and Crucible as a whole is now restricted to 4v4. I'm not mentioning anything they have said in the roadmap or weekly updates because those things are not live at the time of this recording. Without going into too much depth on weapon perks, roles, and our subclasses, an argument can be made to say that Bungie not only dumbed down everything for the filthy casuals, but to accommodate for an esports style PvP. Esports games tend to be very linear on the customization. Look at the most popular esports at the moment. In my opinion, that's Rainbow Six Siege. It has well-balanced characters that each have their own unique role. Destiny had a broader form of that. In D1 you have Titans, the tank, Warlocks, the support, and the Hunters, which can be seen as roamers or ADCs for comparisons to League of Legends. Within each of these characters comes 3 more individualized and specified roles. Let's take the Hunter for example, and its 3 subclasses. The Blade Dancer, or now Pole Dancer, as we have now, is a high mobility subclass and super that allows you to get up close and personal with the enemies, meleeing them in one hit with rapid movements that can take out an entire team. The Golden Gun is a more ranged unit. From behind cover you can unleash 3 to 6 deadly shots that one-hit any enemy, and may even kill at times more enemies with its AoE effect coming from combustion. Last but not least, you have the Tether, possibly the most hunter-like super of them all. You can shoot an arrow that tracks enemies to a certain extent, and snares them in a trap, not allowing them to sprint, double jump, or use any abilities whatsoever. These 3 supers used to have many options for customization depending on how you wanted to run your hunter. In D2 though, Bungie decided to choose for you how you're going to run each super, only allowing you to select from one of 2 perk trees at any given time. This removes that option of selecting how you want to run your subclasses, and how you want to play. Bungie has instead centralized your role to what they deem best. These changes to the subclasses would be step 1 to making this game into a PvP esports game. Remove variety and make class roles more concrete. Next are the weapons. Not much can be said aside from no random perk rolls. This angers me because my past incentives to grind for a god roll gun are no longer there because Bungo has decided what perks belong with which gun. This was stated at Destiny 2's launch as a way of balancing the Crucible, to make people equal on weapons terms and not give one player an advantage over the other just because his gun has a better roll. I'm sorry to say, but that's just a fat excuse for what you truly wanted to do with the game. For a game to be well balanced for esports, there has to be some kind of consistency. Destiny 1 didn't have that, because each gun had a chance of rolling with a variety of perks, which I find was perfect because it allowed us to use our favorite weapon in crazy ways depending what perks we had on that gun. Now that those options are off the table, people rarely experiment in Crucible with any guns. Just for Crimson doubles, I only saw Uriel's. We are 6 months into Destiny 2 and people are still on the same weapon meta. At least when Destiny 1 had a meta, there was a counter meta, and even experimentation in the Crucible. I personally used the universal remote for most of year 1, Destiny 1, instead of the Thorn or the Last Word, and yet I came on top of leaderboards every game, while also having fun. When I wasn't on top of leaderboards, it was because I was goofing off with the Necrochasm. That can't happen anymore because of all this weapon imbalance with the perk system. Destiny's 2 PvP is in no way horrible. Bungie, as always, is near perfect when it comes to making an FPS experience, but that's all it is. It resembles any other bland shooter. All the things that made Destiny's PvP experience unique and fun were essentially removed just so Bungie can have an attempt at making their own esports type game, and to welcome more casual players. This is how I would have made Destiny 2's PvP experience. First thing that needs to be addressed is that Destiny is not a Crucible or PvP centered game. It is a PvE experience with the added bonus of PvP. With that out of the way, I would have kept the original perk system for weapons and subclasses, but the PvP game modes would be another story. I like the idea of 4v4 teams, and the survival and countdown game modes are perfect for that kind of team size. The competitive playlist would stay with rotating game modes, but with a ranked system as well. There would be no more quick play. Instead, players would have the option to play Control, Clash Supremacy, or Rift, all in a 6v6 environment. This would provide us with more chaos and action all game, and games wouldn't feel like they were dragging on forever. There will also be a bonus playlist that would change every week. Doubles or skirmish, 2v2 and 3v3 game modes, like skirmish and salvage, would return with the rare occasion of elimination. These game modes would rotate every game. Trials of the 9 would be a 3v3 elimination with the light level advantage active. This would allow us to enjoy what was originally so much fun and competitive in Destiny's Trials of Osiris. A similar change would occur in Iron Banner. It would be 6v6 Control, Clash, or even Mayhem, with light level advantages active. Those are just my thoughts and opinions. Of course, I always want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys think, how you would have changed it, or if even then, if they changed it back and it were back to what Destiny 1 was, whether you would still play it or not. Don't forget, please do like, subscribe, leave all your hate-filled comments down below, and I'll see you on part 3. Thanks for watching.